You need to stay off the street, man.
Yeah.
Hey, so we could do a million of these, actually. We're going to do 4 of them today. We'll go through a couple topics.
Throw me
here.
4.
Coming in for you. Not 2, but we're going to do 4, right?
Throw me 4.
Throw you 4? 4. My man, 4. So hit me.
Yeah. So
Before I hit you.
So you've got national average of death rate. And so you're looking at, what people are using out there, what is out there. I mean, there's a lot of different numbers right this second that you can throw around. I was looking here a second ago.
But sorry, I'm interrupt you here. So when you're planning, we have to pick a day that we die.
Yes.
Right? And so there is the national averages. You think you have some of those or looking at them. But that's what we're talking about. If you're 50 years old now and we're working out a plan to make you to be age 90, okay, why 90?
I like that. You just jumped in and corrected me because I was kind of starting on the number and not on the thing. See, I just needed you today.
You had it last week, man. You were there.
Love you, man.
All right.
All right. So looking here at that, if you're planning for retirement, eventually we have to find the date of death, like when that is going to be. We don't know exactly. You don't know exactly. But what you can look at is longevity in your family. But what some people are doing is literally just going and saying, okay, well, what's the national average? Well, 2021 national average in the U.S. was 76.33 years.
For dudes?
It just says national average.
Oh, wow.
So on this one. So there's differences there. You've got, 79, 80s, right here, 77 and a half.
Yeah.
Is the middle ground, 74.8 and 80.2 stats.
Why do we use 90?
So there's a great reason for using 90. And that's what we've got to figure out. Because really looking at everything, we've got to think through your longevity in your family. How long have people been living to really think through this to make sure that you're using the right age for you? But you also want to say, okay, well, you know what? Let's plan for a little longer. Because yes, Social Security may pay you a little bit longer, or if you have a pension, you're fortunate for that, it will pay you. But your assets have to also last long enough to get you to there. And what we're seeing with a lot of people, their last few years of life, those are the times that you're actually going to have the highest costs when it comes to healthcare, because you may be going into a nursing home or need assisted living, or at least need some sort of care there. And so that's what we're looking at and making sure that you have enough money to get you to the end. And then if you're planning to do any sort of legacy, that's something as well, because if you're saying, hey, you know what, I'm going to pass away at 76, hope to have $100,000 left to leave my kids. Great. Well, what happens if you live to 86? And so we've really got to think through that and just make sure that we're accounting for things. Now, I know that everybody is different, and you might be one of those that's like, hey, you know what, I'm a smoker, I'm a drinker, and my dad died at 50 and my mom died at 60 and I'm 65. I'm pushing here. Already got COPD or something. Different scenario. Your health is different. But for somebody that's generally healthy, that's 65 years old, maybe their parents even passed away at a younger age, but times have changed. Things have changed. There's a lot more modern medicine. Maybe you go and continually get checkups every single year. You got to think through this and make sure you're planning to make sure your money's going to be there long enough, not just some standard age.
I think of it too as fungibility, right? If you plan to the age of 90 and you don't really think you're going to make it to 90, then you're accounting for a buffer for market volatility, sequence of returns risk, where you're withdrawing maybe in a down market or something. And if it stresses you out a little, you go, well, wait a minute, I plan to be, planned for this to go to age 90. Healthcare costs and everything he just mentioned as well.
Man, coming in with the nuggets today. I love it. Bring it.
From experience, Jaswell, check us out. So the other thing that this is addressed in every plan, people say, well, my taxes will be lower in retirement because I'm not going to be working. No, that's killer. So here's an example of Mr. Louis Armstrong, right? One of our sample clients here. This is their tax rate through right now where they're at, working their way forward. And notice when you get over here to age 75, all of a sudden tax rate starts going up. Mm-hmm. Well, it's an obvious one. That's your RMDs coming out of their pre-tax accounts. So the reason why you see so much online about people talking about conversions and things like that, especially if you're younger, like these people are only in our sample 54, both of them. If you're younger, then yeah, we can make your taxes lower in retirement. And there's a lot of times you find out that the myth is that your tax will be lower in retirement. But the fact is that we actually want to pay the tax now. Let's just get it out of the way, even if it's more tax, because now we're converting to a Roth IRA, and all that money gets to grow from age 54, or from some of those years, all the way to what? 90, which again is kind of our fungibility or fungible area there. So the myth of your money being less taxed or having a lower tax bracket in retirement almost is never true unless you're a kid right now and all you've done is saved in a Roth IRA, which kids are getting smart.
Or the people that get so crazy and spend all their assets down early in retirement.
Could spend it earlier.
That's the other side of it. That's where we start to see the RMDs maybe a lot less if you're really draining down your IRA accounts.
Well, I forgot to show this one here. So if we took Louis Armstrong's example and he said, I don't want to really have any taxes in retirement and I'm willing to do whatever it takes. This is an example of that green area there where we would have had everything converted, before the RMDs would have started anyways. So it's a big hit along the way to do that, but he's going to end up with, in this case, $800,000 more. He's got a lot of assets. So he'll have no real tax in retirement. The catch there is, don't let me trick you here with this. The catch is he's going to have a lot more money, but remember, that's through the rest of his life to age 90.
Yeah.
Well, he may not live long enough to spend some of that. Therefore, he paid tax on money that he was going to maybe die anyways and give to somebody else.
Yep. Yeah, and so I've got one for you too, and I want to ask you this question, put you on the spot a little bit, see if you answer correctly. I'm going to test you.
Let me stop my Monopoly game here.
And so the question is, if you have a client that's looking to retire, let's say at age 60, so definitely way before Medicare, give you a little hint there, what is almost always their biggest concern?
If they want to retire before age 60, or you said at 60?
60 when they're getting to 60, before 65. So they want to retire at 60.
Well, two things. One is, how the hell do I handle this healthcare stuff?
Yep.
And number two is, or if we get to this, how do I make myself look really poor on paper?
Yeah.
For the Obamacare.
For healthcare. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep. It's all healthcare. Every single conversation we have when it comes to somebody that is retiring, their concern is almost always one of their primary concerns is healthcare. And oftentimes you hear when you're retiring that healthcare is going to be expensive. You do have COBRA. If you're leaving an employer plan, you have COBRA, which is where you can get insurance for the first 18 months after your separation from employment. With that, that is going to be expensive. Oftentimes you are now going to pay your cost plus the employer's cost for the healthcare. So your healthcare is going to be a lot more for those 18 months. What we are starting to see with clients, depending on the scenario, is if you have done a really good job and saved in a brokerage account as well, you have a bridge to Medicare. And what that allows us to do is keep your income lower. Also, if we're looking at conversions, we have to really, play a game here. But if you keep your income lower, doesn't mean that healthcare is going to crush you. Oftentimes we hear of people saying, well, I need to retire at 65, can't afford to retire before because of healthcare. Not the case. That is a myth. The fact is we really just have to look at this, do some planning together, and affordable care can be affordable. But if you are planning to make a lot of money in the retirement years or pull a lot of money out in the retirement years, it is not going to be affordable. But those people that are doing that oftentimes already have enough saved anyways. You've got people with $2 million in an IRA and they're like, I just don't want to have to pay $24,000 a year in healthcare. And it's like, but it's okay. There's a point where it's like you're going to have to spend some of this money to enjoy your life. Well, we'll just wait until Medicare years so we don't have to pay this. What happens in 5 years if you retire at 60 if you're at a point in your life where you can't go as much? Things change drastically in the 60s, 70s. Things can happen there. So you just got to think through that. And, then you've got, the Medicare years that are going to kick in at 65, knowing that with Medicare, though, it's not just basic Medicare that comes out of your Social Security. There are other Medicare costs that are going to come into play. There may be out-of-pocket costs depending on what you need and what you get. So making sure that you know that Medicare is not always, a freebie either. There's some expenses that come into play there.
Well, it's not, for people that I talk to, it's like, I guess it's the articles or something they read, but it's always like, oh my God, I'm in so much trouble. This is going to cost so much money.
Yeah.
Just stop for a second. Let's take a look. It's not the end of the world there. Unfortunately, it is expensive and does get more as you get older, but it is what it is. Last one, fact versus myth. The myth, in this case, you should be in as much as the plan will allow in bonds when you're in retirement. Myth or fact?
More bonds?
Have more bonds, if not all bonds. Let's say you got more than enough money. Go, safety, protection, backed by the government.
I want to go look at your portfolio in 2022 then.
So I have a picture for you. Let's say you retired anytime in the last 5 years. And that's just because that's all I'm using at the moment. I did not cherry pick this. It's one of my selections, 5 years. we're going to plot the volatility of bonds against the volatility of the S&P, right? So you can clearly see bonds in purple here, the market in orange. Which one looks more volatile? They basically look the same for the moment. The market is getting a little less volatile right now. It's just the summertime you're seeing. But over the last 5 years, believe it or not, bonds, remember, they have prices too, have been just as volatile, if not a little bit more volatile than the stock market. So when we're talking about you having a lot of bonds in retirement, that might have worked at a different point in life, and it very well could work again. But if you're retired right now, your sequence of returns risk is worse if you're in bonds, if you're going to be selling, than it is in the stock market.
Yeah.
So myth versus fact.
Yeah, and you've got to look at the risk too. What do you need? We look at with Nest Egg, how much risk do you need to take in your plan to meet your goals? Somebody that goes in bonds, and let's just say that, your average annualized return on your bonds is, basket is 4%. Okay, well, great. You're getting 4%, but what if you need 6%? You don't need to just be all in bonds. Other people maybe don't need the risk. Maybe they want to be in bonds, or right this second, maybe they want to be in money market funds that are paying 5% without any risk. And so there's a lot that can come into play here that you've got to think through and look through. It's not just this cookie cutter, cut and dry thing. You read an article, you see a post. It's not the way it works in this world.
And let me further clarify there. So yeah, the safety, the return of bonds, all of that, I get it, right? Generating your interest, and hopefully that offsets some of your drawdown. What I'm talking about is the people that say, go into bonds, and then just like you would if you're in the stock market, a month passes and you go, I need to withdraw $5,000. Mm-hmm. Well, if the volatility in whatever you're invested in is crazy, you may be withdrawing down here, you may be withdrawing up here. So if bonds are just as volatile, and here you go trying to take a monthly paycheck from your retirement accounts, you're at this point better served in this. I'm not saying go to the stock market, but I'm saying you're better served outside of bonds. Money market funds pay the same amount with no volatility. So just a lucky time that we have right now, depending on how you want to look at it.
Yeah, it all depends on the times. Well, so as an American, it's sad to see that nothing is made in the USA anymore. I just bought this new TV and it says built-in antenna. I don't even know where that is.
Where is the antenna? I'm going to go the gun route today. So I just bought a gun. I'm a responsible gun owner, like hands down. I only shoot at targets. That's it. But I got kicked out, so now I go to Walgreens. No?
Poor joke. Too many big shootings.
Well,
bad joke. Cut.
You don't like it? It would be bad if when this goes up, there's a shooting.
At a Target.
Or a Walgreens. All right, so if that happens, then we can't tell the future. Wish you a good day out there. Hey, we'll see you up in Muncie, Indiana,
This
and
is all cut out.
Rockford, Michigan. Adios.